this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Blessed Girl Summer podcast, where we learn to live, love, and cultivate a life of peace and joy. And I'm super excited because today I have drum roll. I don't know how to put the effects in. I have my husband joining us today. Welcome, Akida.
Ooh, and make sure you put like some crowd noises or whatever. Like, I've made it to the Blessed Girl Summer podcast. You finally got me here. No, but feeling really good. I'm humbled that you asked me to be part of it. Took you long enough, but I made it here. No, just kidding.
Well, I'm glad to have you because we've been talking about advocacy, and I know there's a lot of things that we both do in the space, but then there's things that you do in the space as well that I really wanted to bring some light to for everyone that has been listening. But before we get into all of the other ways in which you're pouring into others and pouring into the community, I think we should start with what has been, I guess, one of our babies for a while, which is Couples Connect, and how we have been allowing ourselves, I guess, to be a light or an advocate in the space of marriage and relationships. And so, how about you? You want to start with the story of how we got into this process and like some of the reasons why we do this? And what do we do? How about that? What do we do?
Yeah. So what we do is we do couples coaching for serious couples who are looking to get married or who are married and might just need some support, in their journey and working out different things within their relationships. And it actually comes from a personal experience with our marriage, right? And some time ago, like, our marriage was going through different seasons, right, as every marriage does. And even around the pandemic, I felt like was a season that just like revealed certain things for everybody in the world, right, with this pandemic, and whatever could be shaken was shaken. And we really needed something that would bring us back together and that would, help us to connect greater than the season that we were in. So that's where Couples Connect came out of. Our own experience with other counselors and coaches as a couple has really been beneficial to us. So we wanted to use that same thing to help benefit other couples as well. And that's really where it came from. And the space that we have now, I feel, is such a helpful and healthy space for marriages to come. And I don't mean healthy in the sense of being perfect, but healthy being able to talk about your issues, to be able to work through them, to hear wisdom and insight from other couples. And because we're not just like, we don't have complete autonomy of this space, right? We allow everyone. Some of our couples been married for what, 30 something, 40
40,
something,
40, 40
40
years.
something years. So of course they are going to have some wisdom to add. And I just feel like we learn a lot just as well as everyone else is learning a lot.
Yeah. So I'll just add that we're going on 17 years of marriage in a few
We
months.
are. When were we married? No, just I don't want to put you out
March. And we have a blended family, so we've, experienced quite a few things. But another thing that I love about this community is that we've been able to do like conferences, we've been able to do workshops, and we're continuously growing, like with the material that we read and the things that the videos or the activities or the challenges and stuff that we do.
there.
We create a space where we're, like you said, supportive and have a community, but we're always challenging ourselves to grow. And I think that with our years of marriage, we've come to realize that there's a lot of individual growth that happens within the
Hmm.
relationship, and there's a lot of self exploration and reflection and change that you have to do as an individual to be able to be compatible with someone and to live a life for a long extent, well, for the rest of your lives, together. And how people change and grow individually, which is in turn going to change and grow the dynamics of the relationship. And so I
Yeah.
think having a space like Couples Connect allows for that growth, right? Allows for that space. And like you said, that support that we all need
Mhm.
in our relationships.
Yeah, yeah. We all need that, and we need the support, we need the grace, we need the accountability, right? Because along with that reflectiveness and because the internal work is the hardest part of this work, right? How do we pull down our sense of pride, right? And killing our pride daily, that's like a battle, right? Some of our like most challenging conversations are the ones that happen in our own head. And us, wanting to be right, wanting to make the other person change or understand. But the hardest work is within ourselves, right? It's the internal reflection, the things that we need to work on. We've heard this before. Marriage is about two wholes walking one path. Right? So how do I work on being whole and you work on being whole so that we can come together and walk this path together?
Yes, Lord. I was about to say Jesus.
And it's not easy. That's why you need a community to
Thank
help
you.
you through it.
It's not, and I think people underrate community because, like, we often, like when couples come to us and, especially when they're doing like premarital counseling, we tell them that like that this is hard work. We try to describe what the hard work looks like, but just you don't know until you're like actually in it and you're finding yourself battling with your own perspectives, beliefs, and feelings that you are like married to that
Hmm.
are now kind of being challenged, along with hurt feelings, along with like, I never even thought about this like this before. And now, on top of me feeling not the greatest about it, now I also have to challenge my thinking or my perspective on it.
Hmm.
And I think most people don't want to do that. Like, that is extremely uncomfortable. And yeah, so I think that we really are intentional about creating a space where that can happen. Um, but then also recognizing that it's a space that we need to your point about the things that we have experienced and will continue to experience because we're
Yeah.
continuously growing.
Yeah. It's a lifelong journey, right? It's a lifelong journey, and you and I, we don't have all the answers. Someone else doesn't have all the answers, but it's about a community of people who want to see each other do well, who want to see each other win. So, one, the people in our community, like you have to align with the culture and the goals. Like we're not about creating drama to keep people stuck in seasons. Like we are about a progressive thought and a progressive motion that acknowledges the reality of a situation but doesn't stay there. Like, how can we move that forward? How can we do the work that we need to do so we can show up differently for our spouse and our loved ones?
Yeah. And you'd be surprised when you have other people, first of all, how many laughs and jokes and like
Mhm.
good times that we have where something may seem really heavy to the two of you, but then you can get in a space and it can be just lightened, you know?
Yeah.
And
Which I
then I
feel
think,
we really have, like, there's like a gifting that we have to do that, like talk about some tough issues, but it doesn't feel as heavy.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And then I think to be able to hear other people going through things too, and maybe not going through it in the moment, but have gone through it and have made it to the other side. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it does not, because it is very easy when you're siloed to feel like
Isolated.
lost, yeah, or in despair, or like that there is no there's no light, you know, at the end of
Yeah.
the tunnel.
Yeah.
So real quick, what would you speak to? Because another thing that I think is unique about us is that there's the female version, then there's the male version,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so like even when we're coaching individuals, you get both, you know, perspectives of both viewpoints. But I think even in our like our group dynamics, how do you feel like there is like the support, like there's other husbands there, there's other
Mm-hmm.
wives there, you know what I mean? How do you feel like we're able to pour or create spaces with that dynamic?
Yeah, I think that that is very, like, helpful, especially for a man, because in our history, like, we've met with lots of couples where we'll hear one aspect in this, this big synopsis of whatever the situation is from the wife or from the woman, and then we'll talk to the man, and they're like, oh, everything's cool, everything's fine. And then the few conversations later, we feel like he doesn't necessarily feel that way. He just wants to keep the peace. And there's all of these things that he has been holding inside of him. So I think that this space has been really good to hear from other husbands that, hey, we go through the same things. You're not alone, right? Or, I feel you, brother. I understand. And it just helps to take you out of that isolation. Like, it's just me, and really immerse yourself into a space where you're understood, like someone else gets you. So I think it's been good for that. And I think with hearing the recommendations and the suggestions from other couples helps you so that you're not only just feeling heard, but you feel equipped. You feel like you have a game plan of how to navigate through whatever this challenging situation is, and enjoy each other.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that you brought up the part about having other husbands, other males that you can kind of relate to, because I think it is really important. Like we always talk about sisterhood, this whole blessed girl
Hmm.
summer, this whole thing, you
Hmm.
know,
The
is
whole
about,
movement.
listen, the bond that is created, the energy, it's just a different energy. It's just a different, like, it just, you see, I'm like smiling. It just puts you in a different, that sisterhood puts you in like a different space of like empowerment or just courage and all these different things. And so I know that you also are advocating in another area concerning the brotherhood. So
Yeah.
I love to hear about that and like what's going on in that space. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the brotherhood. I got to figure out a symbol for it, but so the Brotherhood, I'm really, really excited about that. It is a new group that I've started, and it's really a community of men and young men who come together. And just like that space with the men in our couples group, but we create, I like to call it a brave space, right? People say safe space, but we cannot always guarantee that everything will be, that the topics will be, make you feel comfortable. So I don't want to say it's a safe space, but it's a brave space, right? And it's a way for us to show up, hear each other's stories, value each other, provide support, and especially for like mentorship for our young men. That's one thing I felt was lacking in a lot of our school systems, right? Unless you go to like a leadership school or a leadership academy, you are missing out on some of those things that some of our young men have not been able to get in their life, right? And it's, I love it because there's complete buy-in from the men who are a part of that group, and also the young men. We have as young as like 13 who come to it, and we just have a great time. We have a great time. We push each other. We build community. We talk about some topics that we don't normally get to talk about. We express like our feelings and learn how to manage our emotions, even things as simple as like learning how to tie a tie. How do I go for an interview? I got this new job, or my first time job. What should I do with my finances? Or I just got this credit card. How should I use a lot of these things that we didn't get when I was younger. I think it's really needed. I think it's really a helpful space for men and young men to be a part of.
Yeah, it sounds great. Little sisterhood jealousies.
Yeah, and listen, this is only the beginning too. So if we're gonna do events, we're gonna have like challenges. We push each other. It's gonna be some really cool stuff coming down the line.
Yeah, it sounds like a really great community space. And I love that it's intergenerational. And just, I think before we were talking about how it's important to be able to evolve, like still take the wisdom from the past and the experiences from the past, but be able to merge it with what is happening now and be relevant to, this world that we're in, but the world that our young men are growing up in. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And then you mentioned something about leadership, and I know you're also in the executive coaching space.
Mhm.
So, um, love to hear about that space as well.
Yeah, so I feel like the merge between those different generations is crucial to our longevity of how we show up in society, of our lifespan, just how we interact with people and other brothers. It's important to hear from our older generation and the wisdom and the things that they've learned, those values and those things that we want to keep hold of, but also hear from the innovative minds and the forward thinking minds of our younger generation. Right? We're in this new space of AI and how we can utilize AI and all of that stuff. And you have some people that are late bloomers, right? But you have some people who have crossed the chasm already. So I feel like this would be a great way to bridge that mindset so that we can take the best parts from both generations and really help propel each other to live the life that we want to live, to show up the way that we would like to show up in work, in our families, with our friends, with our extended families. Um, but also what type of life we want to live, like what are our visions, what are our goals, what are we aspiring to.
Yeah, yeah, all those things are key and absolutely important and definitely missing in today's times. Now, I know that that's not all. That's not
Mhm.
the only way that you're showing up in terms of an advocacy,
Yeah.
because we've been doing a series on advocacy. And so, one of the main themes that we've been talking about is how advocacy is, if there's a basis of it, of love and of giving and wanting to shine a light in dark spaces and wanting to be a change that is positive and, using the influence that you have. And I know you're always talking about conscientious leadership and just being um, a leader from a holistic standpoint as well, right? And being a whole person, even in your leadership, because you come to your profession as yourself. Like you're not, we like to kind of segment ourselves off, but our whole self is showing up. Our views, our beliefs, our
Mhm.
feelings, our perspectives, our knowledge, like all that stuff is showing up when we are in a position of leadership. And so I know that you do coaching in that space. I love to hear a little bit more. I'm sure I know about it, but other folks will probably
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. So I am a executive coach. I own my own coaching business called Bridge to More. And a lot of how I live my life, a lot of how what I pour into the brotherhood and even the marriage coaching is based off of that conscious leadership concept, right? Before we would hear, or somebody is a good leader or somebody is a bad leader. And from what I feel, it's not good or bad, right? It's conscious and unconscious. And a conscious leader is someone who is aware of those areas that might be challenges in their lives, right? And they might have certain biases, or they may not be a good motivator, or a good, inspirational person, and those things are fine, right? That is okay. It's how do we reflect on that to acknowledge that, but then do the necessary work so that we can improve in those areas, so that we can show up better for our teams, right? If we're a people leader, or processes, if we're a process, manager or something like that, but really tapping into our whole selves, right? And that's whole selves professionally and personally, because it's not realistic to think you can just leave everything at the door, right? At your job. And if you've had a stressful day, like 9 times out of 10, that is going to show up at some point on how you treat your family, right? Or how you're treating your family, or not, not feeling like you're getting from that dynamic is going to show up at work, and how you react to your employees, or vice versa. So it's really from a conscious state, a lot of reflective work, right? A lot of killing your pride. We talked about the pride thing, knowing that whatever you feel is just one perspective, but there are multiple different perspectives, especially when you're talking about developing your team. So it's how you're able to create those spaces in that area or arena. One of the things I say is that I coach the person and not the problem. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, well, my team is not doing this, how do I get them to? Or I have this person at work that I just hate, how do I get them to? So I like to coach the person on how, reflect on how they might be creating these dynamics, or things that they may be able to do to help to promote a different culture or a different interaction with their situation.
Yeah, as you were talking, I'm like, okay, he's covering all these I don't want to use lifespans, all these roles that people play, right? So you have the you have the preteen, the adolescent, where like well, even before that, but you're not covering them. But in the adolescence, where they're still developing, they're still learning who they are, they're still deciding on like their principles and guiding principles, how they're going to live. And
Mm-hmm.
then you also have this area of professionalism. So how are you showing up in this professional space, and how are you stewarding the leadership or the influence that you have? And then moving to, what's your relationship like? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. It's a one-stop shop,
Because all these things, you are the same person in these spaces. You may have different roles and have a different hat and present differently, but at your core, this is still,
Yeah.
who you are, and all of these areas are impacted. So it made me think, you're gonna be mad. I'm like, so the spiritual component is the only component that
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been touched. Are those components touched in, I guess I could answer the one about Couples Connect, but
Mm-hmm.
are those components touched in the Brotherhood?
So yes, it is incorporated in our talking points, in our discussions. We do welcome folks from, brothers from any walk of life to come, but just it is a Christian based group, men's group. So we will be covering scripture. We will be talking about, God, what God's views on, manhood, and what our roles are in this world and in this society. And a lot of like our missions and values are based on scripture. So it is from a Christian perspective. The only perspective where it's a little bit more subtle is within the leadership and executive coaching, because my audience is on a broader scale. But best believe I do incorporate, mindsets and things like that are scripturally based in that coaching style and in that coaching framework.
Right, because you show up in all those spaces.
Exactly. So there's a part of me and my history as a youth pastor, as a worship leader, as an e-group leader, that shows up in everywhere of those spaces. So the roles may change, but the mission is still the same.
Right, right. Yeah, and the same with, Couples Connect. There's definitely that support, that is our guiding light, and a part of this advocacy space is being a light, shining a light in areas of darkness. And darkness doesn't necessarily have to mean like evil, or
Hmm.
like, it could just mean where there is brokenness, where there is pain, where there is discord, right? Providing unity, providing peace, providing healing, providing laughter, whatever that may be. And so I think, as we're closing out this season with advocacy, I hope that people are able to take away that using the gifts that you have within you, using the things that God has given you to shine light for other people, right? That where that light has not shined for them, where they're in need of someone else advocating for them,
Hmm.
um, guiding them, being a director of sorts, or creating a space for them to just come, and feel
Yeah.
supported and be a part of. And so I love to ask you two more questions, and then two more. I did four. Two more questions. Um, the first one is, what advice, what words would you leave for anyone? Well, this is the second question. What advice or what words would you leave for anyone who is contemplating um, being an influence or being an advocate, or just, shining a light in their community? But then the one before that, we talk a lot about all these things that you're doing, all these different areas and ways in which you're pouring out into other people. And I like to think, or I goal to individually, to pour out from a place of overflow, as to not be drained, right? Or burned out.
Hmm.
And so I'm just wondering, what ways in which are you working on or actively doing, pouring into yourself so that you can be a spring
Yeah.
of water to other folks? And then the other question I had.
Yep. So my own personal self-care looks like going to the gym. So I do like to keep myself active. I feel like that's a great stress reliever for me when I'm able to exert my body. But also it kind of helps my mind to start thinking better too, and to kind of have more clarity. And this is a side note, but a personal trainer, not my personal trainer, but a personal trainer, had mentioned how, when we become stagnant in our body, like as far as active lifestyle, that can sometimes translate into our thinking as well. Like our thinking becomes stagnant. Our emotions become stagnant, and we just like, feel like you were just in this little bubble, and vice versa, right? So they were contributing like you being physically active to like mentally, and like how mental capacity and focus is based on that. So I do a lot of exercising. I try to go out on walks with you. Sometimes we'll go out on walks. And then also, like, I have days where I rest, right? I prioritize. I put that like on my calendar. I rest, and actually, yeah, I have on my little thing there where it says on this day, relax, and not feeling pressured like I have to be so doing something all of the time. But even athletes, they have off days. Even athletes rest and recover. So we have to do the same. And then your other question, what advice would I give? Repeat it for me.
What advice would you give for anyone contemplating being a light, or
Yes. So my advice, there's two things I would say, at least to get you started, is one, finding out what your zone of genius is. And it doesn't mean necessarily what you're good at, because sometimes what we're good at does not bring us joy. And we still feel stressed out. We still feel pressured and burnout and all of those things because it doesn't bring us joy. So your zone of genius is something that you're really, really good at, and something that also brings you joy, something that you're happy with doing. Right. So figure out what that is. That could be you're a great communicator. That could be you're great with finances, or you're an artist or a musician, or you like, cycling, whatever it is for you, that you can find out what that is and then fine tune that, and pick one person. Right. You don't have to have the 30,000 attendee workshop plan. You don't, that could be the later goal. But for right now, what can you do with what's in your hands? Right. And that might be having a monthly Bible study with a good friend of yours. That could be having a financial literacy class for the people in your family, your cousins. Maybe you just get your cousins together. Whatever that is, just start with what you have. Start where you are, and it will eventually begin to grow and build. And then you'll want to consistently refine it, build on it, grow on it, and your community will grow and your impact will start to grow as well.
Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining me from the bedroom next door.
I'll be over there right after this.
But so thank you for spending time here at Blessed Girl Summer talking about the ways in which you've been able to advocate. We hope that this has encouraged those of you listening to utilize your gifts, right? Just to look for ways to be an advocate, to be a light, sometimes just even volunteering, right? To just put your foot out there and kind of see, or your feet out there and kind of see what folks are in need of and what maybe resources or things that you have that you can offer unto them. So we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And be a light in your community. Akida, did you want to tell them how they can reach you?
Sure, I can do that. So for the executive coaching, just so that you know, I do coach executives, but I also coach leaders. I coach emerging leaders and also folks who are looking to get into some type of leadership. So, or even if you just want to show up in a better way for yourself or in work or in your life, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Akida Gray, Akida. So send me a message there. Would love to connect with you. And then as far as the Brotherhood, so we do the older men and also younger men as well. You can hit me up on Instagram. My handle is Akida, Akida _official. So send me a DM there, or you can follow me there. But those are the ways. And then for Couples Connect, you can connect. Where do they go for Couples Connect?
We've been a
Email
little
us.
busy. We've been a little busy. So our Couples Connect is like waiting list. But just go to the Instagram.
Yeah.
What's the Instagram?
Yeah. Couples Connect 2020, I want to say. No? Okay. What is it?
_Couples Connect _
Yeah. Yeah. Couples Connect _ Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Well, thank you guys. Remember to continue to cultivate your joy, protect your peace, and live the life that you have definitely been, that is your portion, which is full of peace and joy. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Woke up this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.